A lot of people are lost, sitting at the backseat of their life. Why?
The difference between GTD and a lot of other stuff out there is this starts with where you are, not with where you should be. Anybody who implements this methodology is going to produce more focus, more control, more stability.
В 2009 году моя голова достигла диаметра больше метра. Знаете почему? Количество проблем, мыслей, которые в ней роились. Я уехал на дачу. Я думал сжечь все эти мысли в камине. И ни хрена, ничего у меня не получалось. Я в итоге понял, что эта проблема в ручке и в тетрадке. Вы знаете, люди всегда придумывают себе какое-то оправдание. Я поехал в магазин канцтовары. Нашел ручку, нашел тетрадку и зашел в книжный отдел. Там случайно увидел книжку «Как привести дела в порядок». Несмотря на лузерское название, я как тигр на нее набросился, потому что это же книжка про меня, у меня же дела не в порядке, как их привести, я не понимаю. Я посмотрел заголовок, английский. Она называлась на самом деле Getting Things Done. Как заканчивать дела. Эта книга изменила мою жизнь. I'm again super happy to welcome David, the author of the Getting Things Done methodology, which I was told that it's also people are obliged to study it in schools in US, or it's a fairy tale.
There's some experiments of it's going on in the US in some small places.
There are people who have not read the book or haven't really tested this kind of methodology. Can you please tell in 3 minutes what is all about, what is the main idea, and what people should do to really increase their productivity?
Yeah, well, I'll do it in 30 seconds. Anything potentially meaningful that you have attention on that you can't finish the moment you think of it, you better capture some placeholder, reminder of what that is. Sooner than later, decide exactly what it means to you and what you need to do about it in terms of the next actions you need to take and the outcome you're committed to complete. You need to then organize the results of that thinking in some sort of trusted external system that you then reflect and review on some consistent basis so you feel comfortable about what you decide to do or not do that very moment because you can see the whole gestalt.
Мы опубликовали дублированное интервью с нашим американским клиентом Брэндоном Вебом буквально неделю назад. Если не видели, посмотрите. И мы увидели огромное количество комментариев. Не делайте озвучку, дайте субтитры. Мы хотим смотреть оригинал. Для меня это было как бальзам на душу. Я хочу, чтобы вы выучили английский, чтобы вы могли путешествовать, ездить на бизнес-конференции, проводить переговоры. И то, что так много людей написало «уберите дубляж», это круто. Вы тоже можете выучить английский благодаря нашему партнеру инновационной школе английского языка EnglishDom. Вы можете заниматься с учителем в цифровом кабинете 1 на 1. И если вы введете промокод Fedoriv по ссылке в описании, то вы получите 2 урока в подарок. Блин, учите английский, наслаждайтесь качественным контентом из первого источника. No English, no money. It was first published
2001, the same year that the first Agile programming manual was written. So it's interesting that there was a lot of simultaneous stuff with my work and the tech world. I think GTD, or Getting Things Done, was one of the first non-tech memes that hit the tech world, and it spread around the tech world, globally very fast. GTD was a brand that kind of ran out from under us because I never did any marketing. We never did any brand research. GTD was just our shorthand for the title of the book. And it turned out that people just caught it and sort of spread it all over.
The world during these 20 years completely changed. I mean that it becomes digital, it becomes too fast, too many information, and people who I see are really stressed.
See, what's happened in the last 20 years, frankly, nothing's changed really. I mean, the word processor and the spreadsheets were game changers. They changed how we thought and really were highly productive tools to show up given before and after. I'm old enough to remember typing, on it with erase tape. So before you had an idea, damn well better be good. Word processor let you have an idea, then later on figure out what to do with it, which is how your brain really thinks and likes to think. What has really changed is speed, volume, and connectivity. To your point, we're getting a lot more stuff a lot faster, and you're connected to a lot more things. So a lot of what's creating the ambient anxiety, as I call it, for a lot of people is the stress of opportunity. How many things could you be surfing the web about today that could improve? That or that or that or that or that or that. See, in a strange way, in a crisis, people get to relax more because it takes away all your decisions. It takes away all your choices. Essentially, you're going to survive. Come on, if this thing suddenly catches on fire right now, your daughter, taxes, tires on your car, all that's going to be put very much on hold, right? And you're going to be focused on one thing. If you're not in a physical crisis, a bigger crisis kind of emerges, which is all the demons at the gate come running through. You could do this, but you could do that too. Oh my God, you could do this too. Oh my God. And that is, in a way, somehow the stress of opportunity is what is, I think, causing a lot of the stress for a lot of people.
A lot of people are lost, sitting at the backseat of their life. Why? And how you, as a consultant, if you, again, touch the person, how you start to help them, where is the way out, and what you tell them.
First thing I'd say is, well, what's got your attention? What's most on your mind right now? And usually what's on people's minds is stuff that they care about, but they have not made the appropriate decisions about what they need to do about it. What's got your attention? What would you need to do next about that to get resolution on that or to move it toward closure that you'd like to get? Doesn't mean you have to like it. You don't have to like your life to get it off your mind. Happiness is fleeting. I'm not a motivational speaker, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I think satisfaction is much healthier and more sustainable than happiness. I need to be satisfied. I need to have
what is the difference? Can you give me a little more
satisfaction,
details?
if you think of the etymology of the word, and from the Latin anyway, is enough action, enough doing, or appropriate doing. So it's about appropriate engagement. It's not about working harder or sweating more. Or being appropriately engaged with all of those things is what's going to get it off the limbic part of your brain and into the conscious part of your brain and relieve the pressure that then frees you up to make much more intuitive decisions and to really sit in the driver's seat of your life. One way to say it is just follow your heart. I mean, a lot of people have said that in many different ways. But it's like, how do I start to uncover what my intuitive calling and intuitive motion really is right now?
How you really spread what is a wrong opportunity and you just forget about it, and what is right for you to do.
In getting things done, what I recognize the 6 levels of commitments that we have with ourselves. The top commitment is, why are you on the planet? What is your purpose as a human being, right? And then what's your vision of that being completed successfully? And then what do you need to do to make the vision happen? And then what are the things you need to maintain so that you got a healthy lifestyle and can move toward your vision? And what are all the projects you need to finish about all that? And then what are the action steps you need to take about all the moving parts? Those are 6 levels of commitments. If you said, well, how do I decide about all that stuff? I'd say, well, which of those horizons do you need to go to clarify? Are those things in alignment with the vision of where you're going? Are they on purpose for you or not? Are they within your value system? So there's no simple answer to that. I'd love to find a simple answer to that, but I got it as simple as I could. We all kind of exist on all these levels of commitments, whether you're conscious about them or not, they're there. So if you want to know, how do I set priorities? I would say, well, great, which one of those horizons do you need to focus on more?
What are your personal tricks? How you define it for yourself?
All I know is just for myself. I just said, look, is there anything on my mind right now? Is there anything keeping me from being present right now? And that's my priority.
Being present.
Yeah.
Meaning, if I'm here feeling pain that I'm not at home, it's wrong.
Well, it's not wrong. It's just it's a distraction and it's stressful. Getting in your zone can happen anywhere, where time disappears and you're just on. Ideally, to me, that just live a life that way. Csikszentmihalyi, the guy who wrote Flow, and he thought that most people would be most in their flow in their personal lives. The big surprise was 85% of people found themselves in their flow at work, not necessarily at home. And so then he started to research, well, what is it that got people into the flow state? And a lot of it is about, am I appropriately engaged with whatever all this is? Because a lot of it's also quality instead of quantity. You could spend 2 hours with your kids, but if you're on your phone, you're not with your kids. You could spend 2 minutes with your kids, not on your phone, and literally with them. That's quality time. So a lot of it may have to do with quality, not quantity, in terms of feeling good about how much am I allocating to these appropriate things. And different kids will need different things, as you probably know, right? At different times. So it's about, are you listening to that still small voice inside of you? if you do a reflection process, which is probably the biggest need these days given the speed of the life that's going on, people need reflection time. So, in GTD we talk about the weekly review. If you just take once a week, hold the world back for 2 hours and sit back and not be on your phone, not be on email, not do any of that shit, but you sit back and just let it flow and then just start to listen to, okay, well, wait a minute, what's going on? What's up? How am I? What's going on these days? And that only you can then find out those answers by being able to listen to yourself.
My friend, he's a really, really big businessman. He said, you have to be naked. In a good means. He says that you don't hear yourself if you are not naked, and if you are not
vulnerable. It's open and vulnerable and open to listen to whatever you want to call that. I call it the still small voice that loves you. That you could call it your high self, you could call it your soul, you can call it your spirit, whatever it is you want to call it. We all have it. And it just depends on how much you want to listen to it.
But how can you make it louder?
You don't make it louder, you make the rest quieter.
Due to putting it out of your head?
Putting all the rest of it out of your head. That's why a lot of GTD is about getting rid of all the distractions, so when you sit down, you can truly be present and listen to whatever the inner voice is, as opposed to, I need cat food, or I forgot that, or I need to do that. Come on, you need to shut that friggin' stuff up. But you don't shut that up by drinking or meditating.
No.
Well, I do both, so I know. So.
What do you like more, drinking or meditating?
I don't know.
I'm only drinking guy. No meditations yet.
Flip a coin. They kind of both do the same thing in a way, but there's a way to relax in a certain way. But to quiet the noise is really, the way out is through. You need to get into why is it noisy? What do I need to do or decide about it? What do I need to organize about it? What do I need to reflect about it in terms of the larger game? That is what then shuts it up. See, the difference between GTD and a lot of other stuff out there is this starts with where you are, not with where you should be. So let's start with where you are. Because if you can't control where you are, don't even try to think about the future or vision, because all you're going to do is create guilt and frustration. Because if the day-to-day is out of control, trying to think about the future is going to throw you more out of control. So you need to and I don't mean control like control the weather or control your kids, but having something under control like your car or a meeting or a conversation where there's stability and there's a sense of clarity. And it's really about being clear.
Do you have 5 magic questions you recommend everybody to ask yourself to really start the GTD process?
Sure. What's on your mind? Grab a pen and paper and write down the top 10 things right now that are on your mind that have little, big, personal, professional. What's on your mind? Write it down. Go through each one of them and say, okay, am I going to actually do something about that? Yes or no? And if yes, what's the very next action I would need to take? And once you make that decision, either complete the action, if you could do it in 2 minutes or less, or write it down and watch how different you'll feel. People often ask, how long does it take to experience the value of GTD? I say, how long does it take to write down 10 things and decide the next action on them and watch how you feel? That's about how long it takes.
You declared to have changed 35 jobs before you turned 35.
Correct.
Why?
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had wide-ranging interests. I was more interested in my own personal development, my own spiritual and self-development process that I sort of uncovered. Come on, I was California in the 1960s, so this was the hotbed of personal growth and spiritual awakening and all that stuff. I was not into going to India and being in a rice, eating out of a rice bowl and being in a cave. I was more interested in good-looking women and good Chardonnay and nice lifestyle. I thought I was going to be in academia. I was studying history. I got inspired about intellectual history, cultural history, history of thought. And I was always fascinated if you could figure out how to get in touch with the stuff that's sort of driving us, on a more subtle level, then life would be easier. And I'm just Mr. Lazy. People have often asked me, given the work that I do, they say, are you a naturally organized guy? I'm not. That's my wife. So that's always been of my style, but I just discovered academia. I was tired of studying people who seemed enlightened. I wanted my own. To me, the university setting was not where I was going to find that. So I dropped out and then just had to make a living. So I had a number of friends that seemed to know what they wanted to do. So I wound up being a good number two guy. I helped a lot of people with their own startup businesses, their small businesses they were doing, because I would just walk in and say, gee, how could we make this work better and easier? Now they call that process improvement. I just said, hey, come on, let's just make this easier. Then at a certain point, I realized, well, wait a minute, they actually pay people to do this. They call them something and they pay them money to do that, called consultant. Wow, I guess maybe that's what I am. So hung out my shingle and Allen Associates in 1981. The book really changed the game, obviously, because I didn't know how successful the book was going to be. I just needed to write it because I figured if I got run over by a bus, somebody might figure this out at some point. But by that time, as I said, it took me 25 years to really realize, and thousands of hours with some of the busiest and brightest and best and smartest people you'd ever meet on the planet, testing this model out and finding out there were no holes in it, there are no leaks in it. Anybody who implements any of this methodology is without fail going to produce more focus, more control, more stability, and more space to focus on the meaningful stuff.
What are your, I don't know, findings and the life hacks? Because I'm writing a book now for 8 years.
Yeah.
Actively for 3 years. It's called The Brand Father, about creating the brands which change the business. But
good title. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm writing, rewriting, changing editors, changing illustrations. Like it's almost there, but it's so far from being here. Yes.
Well, the key is to get a publisher that gives you a deadline, and that is you're only going to get money if you make the deadline. That's why most people procrastinate, is because it requires thinking and decision making, and decision making is the toughest decision making that you do.
What kind of decision making?
Should I write that word? Should I write that word? What does this chapter need to say? Oh, come on, it's all the stuff you're dealing with when you're sitting down to try to write the book. Right? It's nothing but thinking. Thinking is hard work. It is hard work. It really is. And so, I think the hack that I came up with finally was that I needed a good 4-hour stretch of doing nothing else to be able to get back into my zone, to get back into the flow of writing.
When you were at the peak of your, I don't know, let's call it business happiness, when you said, yes, it worked.
Well, I suppose when it got to be number 3 on all of Amazon's books, like literally the third, one day I think it got to number 3. And it's like, wow, you mean the world really does like this? And I think that plus I didn't really know if I could scale what it was that I had uncovered and how I could teach and how I could coach about it. I had a lot of very smart people were quite skeptical. They said, David, I don't know if you can put yourself in a book. But I didn't know that I could put it in some sort of virtual form, where without me being there, you could actually get this. Mm-hmm. So the first weekend that the book was on the shelves of Barnes & Noble in the US, I got an email from a woman. She said, David, I just picked up your book. I read it. I just implemented it, much like you said you did. She said, wow, it just changed my life. I went, yes, we can possibly scale this. But I'm not I wasn't the best player for the play. I don't like managing people. I didn't like managing a big company. So we said if we were going to do that, the only way to do it was partnerships and technology. So we wound up over the last 10 or 15 years, we've wound up now finding great partners around the world, like Slava here in the Ukraine, that we've certified them to be able to be trainers in this methodology, and we've got high quality control with that and got a great network of people. So being able to manage, that's been a lot of what my work turned into. So we moved from 50-person company down to 8, because we're now really an IP licensing company more than anything else.
8 people now.
Yeah. Actually down to 5 almost.
Okay.
So, basically, my wife and I and our little small company, we really sort of re-understood our mission was to create a world where there are no problems, only projects. And there's a lot to that when you think about what that's about. But that's what GTD does. It gets people back in the driver's seat of their life. Mm-hmm. And so there's no room for worrying or complaining. But we don't have to address it from that standpoint. It's just however we can get the world to start to think that way, and as many people as we can reach this to.
If we speak about your book, and imagine that you want your book to be in good company. If a person wants to work with, let's say, productivity, satisfaction, and all these kind of things, what other 4 to 5 books will you recommend to read before or after your book?
Well, you could read all of my books.
First, second, and third, and also for teenagers.
Yeah, right, for teenagers. And we just came out with a GTD workbook, that it makes it a little easier for people to start with some of the basic moves of it. So I don't know that it's in Russian yet or not, but probably will be soon.
By the way, you read books in paper or in electronics?
I do
You
paper.
personally?
I like touch and feel of
okay,
paper.
okay.
Yeah, I like paper. I don't read a lot. Every once in a while, I'll read a good book that has a certain spin on things that's really good.
But you already mentioned the flow. Do you recommend it? Do it
good book.
works good?
Yeah, it's a good book. Come on, there at that level, there are probably hundreds of really good
Yeah.
books
That's
out
why
there,
I'm
you know.
interested in your subjective recommendations.
A new one that I read that I highly recommend is called The Antidote.
Antidote.
Yeah, by Oliver Burkeman. It's a great book.
About
the
what?
subtitle is Happiness for People That Can't Stand Positive Thinking.
Can stand.
Who can't stand positive thinking.
Okay.
So a lot of it's about, as opposed to happy, it's about the willingness to accept the challenges, the tough stuff, and so forth, being able to move through that. It's a great book.
Antidote.
The Antidote, yep.
The flow. What is the main idea of the flow?
Well, the flow is just about just all the research about what gets people into the flow state, and what are the aspects of that.
What do you think about this movement of mindfulness, that's meditation?
All good stuff. Any of that's good stuff that gets you to focus on your breathing, become present. Any of those techniques, I've been doing those techniques for 50 years. So, any and all of that is good stuff. I think the best thing for people to do is to trust your intuition. Go into a bookstore and see what kind of rings your bell. That's what I've done.
I will definitely ask you to sign this.
Sure.
Because for me, this physical element was an important thing. Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hi, I'm Дэвид Аллен. I am the grandfather of Getting Things Done, or GTD. Delighted to be here in great conversation. Have a great rest of your life and create whatever.